Inflation's impact on American families. Okay, so here we are with another video where we're going to be talking about real life issues that matter and kind of bridging the gap with the power of Bitcoin, the world's first cryptocurrency. So in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about inflation and the massive impact it's had on modern families. So I was just recently dropping off a friend to handle some business, and he was kind of telling me his story. He's a 31-year-old guy. He's a single dad. He has a young daughter. I think she's around the age of 6 or 7 or something like that. And he's separated from his the mother of his kids, and they share custody and things like that. And he was telling me his story. The thing that was coming in the back of my head was basically how inflation has really caused a big problem and kind of caused the really, in my opinion, the breakdown of the modern family structure. So hear me out. So I was talking more and more with him, and he's 31 years old. Like I mentioned, he was a single father, and he actually lives with his mother. Okay, and all of these things that he was telling me in the story, it was just like a light bulb was going off in my head that inflation is really the main culprit for most of the issues in the modern day family. So what is inflation? Well, inflation is basically when a currency or a government currency loses its purchasing power over time. And for some of you younger guys out there, you don't know, I was born in 1986. I'm 38 years old. So I've lived through quite a bit of time. I've been able to kind of see the value of the US dollar in particular. And of course, all fiat currencies, but especially the dollar. I've been able to watch it kind of decrease its purchasing power over time. And that's by design by the government. So that what the government does is the government issues currency out, okay? And this is done, in the United States, it's done through the U.S. Treasury, and then the Federal Reserve, which is not really a government organization, but they are in control of things like, the rate of currency that's kind of issued into society. They're in control of interest rates. The current Fed chair is Jerome Powell, so he's kind of pulling the strings on that. But they have a Fed committee where they all sit down and discuss this stuff. So their goal is to kind of keep inflation down. And of course, with President Trump, he's trying to do this as well. Donald Trump, and Elon Musk and the Doge committee. So all of these people together are trying to curb inflation. But inflation is by design, okay? And the reason why inflation is by design is because inflation is needed to pay interest on all fiat currencies. So stay with me here. So think of it like this. When you open a bank account, whether it's Bank of America, whether it's whether it's SoFi, Wells Fargo, whatever, okay? JP Morgan Chase, right? And you deposit your money in there, you're only going to give the bank your money if they're going to pay you interest, right? Because why would you just give them your money for no reason? So how is the bank going to pay interest on your money? Well, what the bank is going to do is they're going to take your money and loan it out at a higher rate, and then they're going to pocket the difference. But the interest is actually controlled by the Fed and the Treasury Reserve. They're the ones that determine the Fed fund rate, which is basically the rate of cost of borrowing, in the American society, which trickles everywhere. So the problem with this is that anytime you have a currency where interest must be paid on the currency, you're going to have inflation, right? Because if you put your money in the bank, where is the dollars going to come from that are going to pay interest on your money? Well, they come out of thin air. They have to. This is the inflationary effect. So the problem is that, but the design, as long as you have inflation, most government currencies are going to go to their intrinsic value, which is zero. And this is one of the reasons why the modern family has been affected so much. Because in my friend's example, he's in his 30s, he's still living with his parents, okay? My father, left home at 18, joined the army, never went back home. My mother left home at 21 to go work in the city, never went back. So why are there so many young adults in their 20s, 30s, even 40s, sometimes 50s, still living at home? Inflation, okay? And the reason why inflation is so high is, like I mentioned before, you're seeing increases in prices for everything: food, rent, gas, okay, dining out, right, clothing, you name it. Heck, even entertainment, okay, sporting events, constantly raising prices. This is putting a strain on modern families, and it's not making it very easy for adults to move out to get their own place, right? I'm from Washington, D.C. I think the average rent for an average decent apartment, okay, not in a dangerous neighborhood, it's going to be about $2,300 to $2,400. For most people, it's just unaffordable unless you're earning a ton of money. So that's causing a lot of adults to remain at home, where you don't actually leave the nest. You're still stuck, you know, at home. Most throughout history, most adults between ages like 18, 21, 22, something like that, left and never went home. They formed their own nest. And when you form your own nest, you form your own families. But this is becoming really difficult with the fiat currency inflation. And then, of course, he's a single dad. He's sharing custody, okay, with his daughter. This is another result of inflation, right? With people's income so strapped, women are forced to go work. Okay, my grandfather, I mentioned in many videos, he took care of 5 children and his wife on one income, which is almost impossible nowadays, unless one of the people, either you or your spouse or whatever, are earning a ton, your girlfriend or you yourself are earning a ton of money. And it's just not like that in this economy. With AI coming up, with so many things being automated, the amount of jobs that are going to be available in the future are going to decrease, okay? Elon Musk said that within the next 10 years, there'll be billions of humanoid robots all over the world doing tasks. That means that the service industry is going away and we're going into the age of automation. So this is a huge problem. This is another result of inflation. So what is the solution? Well, the current inflationary rate, depending on whatever BS number that the CPI index, they come out with the numbers every month. They say inflation's around 2.8%, but we all know that's BS, because at the end of the day, everything feels more expensive. So it's not really the number, it's the actual increase in the cost of goods and services. Now, to put this in perspective with Bitcoin's annual inflation rate is 1.17%. And Bitcoin's actually a deflationary currency, where every 4 years, due to the halving event, the amount of Bitcoin going into circulation gets cut in half, okay? So what this means is that fewer and fewer and fewer Bitcoin over the long run are entering circulation, which is the exact opposite of the fiat currencies. So the fiat currencies are inflationary. Bitcoin is a deflationary currency. Big difference. Big difference. And this is the reason why Bitcoiners who buy Bitcoin and stay dedicated to the process, they end up increasing their purchasing power over time. So remember, fiat currencies decrease your purchasing power. Bitcoin increases your purchasing power. Okay? And this is due to the halving event. Okay? Now, in the beginning, with the initial block reward, it was a lot of Bitcoin. Okay? It was like 50 Bitcoin per block. Now the block reward, I believe, is just 3.125, something like that. And then in the next halving event will be in 2028. That will get cut in half. So it'll be from 3.125 to like 1.56, something like that. And over time, we'll get to the point where even less than 1 Bitcoin is issued, okay, as a block reward every 10 minutes. So this event is like slowly over time. There was a lot of Bitcoin, like when the first Genesis block was mined, it was like 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes was issued. Now it's only 3. And that number is going to continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller over time, which means your purchasing power as a Bitcoiner is going to continue to go up. So, it's really interesting to kind of hear the differences in me as a Bitcoiner and having a deflationary currency where my purchasing power is going up and I'm able to actually escape the modern plague of most families, versus to talk to someone who's actually experiencing that inflationary effect, having to live with their parents, being separated their kids due to the financial strain in the household because, his ex has to work a job. This is all putting a strain on the modern family. As human beings, we're very susceptible to our environment. And it doesn't matter how good of a husband or how good of a boyfriend you are. If inflation is causing strain on society, it's going to affect your family too. So let's imagine a world where we adopt gold or Bitcoin and get rid of these fake fiat currencies. Well, now, since you're saving in a hard asset like Bitcoin, right? Now your purchasing power is increasing. So now your girlfriend or your wife or whatever, now they don't have to work. And because they don't have to work, they can spend more time with their kids. And because they can spend more time with their kids, they're less stressed. And because they're less stressed, there's less fighting in your relationship. And because there's less fighting in your relationship, there's less breakups, fewer divorces. So all of these fake currencies are really putting a strain on the modern family. And the biggest solution I can figure out is to, basically disregard these modern currencies and start saving in gold and Bitcoin. Okay, gold is probably, overall the safest, but if you're looking for alpha returns, if you're looking for the greatest returns, you want to embrace Bitcoin as well. So like I said, check out Bitcoin, look at some of the videos on my channel. You can learn more about Bitcoin. I posted lots of videos that you guys can check out. So just be sure to just go through my archives and stuff like that. And please subscribe. I'm going to be posting a lot more content in future, God willing, on Bitcoin, things like that. And my goal with this channel is to bridge real life issues that matter with the power of Bitcoin, and kind of bridge that gap that I haven't really seen. There's like a content gap on YouTube that I feel like I can provide some value and kind of take these real world topics and provide solutions and kind of tie in Bitcoin as an ultimate solution to a lot of the problems that's plaguing modern day society. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think. You guys like the format? If you guys got any topics as well, let me know in the comments. I'll try to make a video on it. And like I said, please subscribe for future content from me. And that's all I got until now, guys. Take care.